Okay, here's our uranium update here on August 12th. It's a Friday. It's about 3:30, so market's closing in about 30 minutes. We're looking at CCJ here. We are going to look at a few other uranium names. And we're getting a little bit of a reversal intraday. This is the hourly chart here. You can see we've gotten a little reversal after that. The opening candle was a big red shooter. And so we're still inside the range of that shooter, actually. If we're going to get really sort of tactical, you see this is our big opening candle shooter, and we are still inside the range. This is how price action works, folks, right? So like, that's the range of the candle, right? Just to put a finer point on it, right? Like that. So we opened, boom, like it looked like we were going to just dump. I mean, we did dump. Then we dumped some more. Notice we made a low below that range. Then we popped back up, and we've gotten follow through since. And we're trying to break out at 25.52. And notice this is a higher low than this low here. So that's the hourly chart. I mean, zooming into the daily, so just looking at how we're going to close out the day. This is what looks to be day 30. We have a high on day 26, which is a swing high. So below 25.72, we remain a swing high. So this looks to be the daily cycle high. Now it's a question of like, are we getting a really short, tiny daily cycle decline here? Let me add in the 10 period moving average, right? So we didn't even close. So this closed below the 10 period moving average right here. So like, and then we pop back up and we've been. So one thing I will say is, this is definitely underperforming the market, like just the general market. So, I suspect we're still continuing the daily cycle decline, but this is a little bit murky here. On the weekly level, it's also a little bit ambiguous, interestingly enough. And I'll just change the visibility on this thing here. So this week has just been a consolidation week, basically, right? So like, we almost made a low below last week, but we didn't, right? You see that. And then we just kind of popped back up. And so this is just kind of a red doji. We did make a slight higher high. So the count here is a little bit funky, right? We had this huge downdraft into a week 15 ICL, or what looked like a week 15 ICL. Then we bounced up for 4 weeks, and then we started a decline. Only it was just a 1 week decline. We then consolidated inside the range of that 1 week for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And then we broke out of that range the week of July 25th. I hope you see, like, this was all consolidation. This week, this week, this week, this week, and this week. These 5 weeks just churning here. And then we broke to the upside. And then the next week we didn't get any follow through. We just consolidated. This was an inside week. And now we got a little bit more upside this week, but then we've pulled back. And so it's possible that this wasn't your weekly cycle low and this is actually your low. So let's say this would be week 20. And so that would make this week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of a new cycle. In some ways, it doesn't really matter, right? And again, this is where it's important to understand price action trumps the cycle count. Regardless of what the count is, this is the high that we have to break, right? We have to break above 28.28, and I'll show you on the monthly chart. There's a reason that is the high from June, right? 28.28. We've got to. I'll zoom in. We've got to break above that to have any chance of any real upside, and that's obviously, quite a ways from here in percentage terms. But this thing can move easily 5-10% in a day, so we could be up there before you know it. But that's the level that you want to be paying attention to. And the monthly candle is doing absolutely nothing. So the same way that weekly candle just kind of went up and then there was no follow through, it's just kind of pulled back. That's creating this monthly candle that's just a doji. It did make a slight higher high, but it's done nothing since then. No follow through. Trappy action. And keep in mind, this is month 29. We have our top on month 25. Now, this is potentially a 3-year cycle high, right? 3-year cycle, 36 months. If the top came on month 25 and it's currently month 29, that implies another 6 or 7 months of downside. It's entirely possible that this right here is actually your long-term low, right? Maybe we got an early low Same as the way that gold maybe got an early 8-year cycle low. You just never know. Stocks may have also bottomed early as well. I'll talk about that in that video in more detail. So we'll have to watch, but again, that 28 level breaking above this big bearish shooter of a candle for June is going to be a real signal. And if we look across the uranium space really quickly, looking at monthly charts, they all look the same, right? They all have this like Doji month, Doji. So sorry, this is Cameco, this is the URA ETF, so a basket of your uranium names. GoviX, I would stay away from. Look at that big red shooter on the month. This is GoviX is threatening to become a bearish outside bar, and that would mean breaking below this month's low, which is, looks like in the 16-cent area. So pretty big downdraft because we're at 21 cents here. This looks really bad. If you think about it, this is your big downdraft. This is your lower high, and then you would expect we make a lower low, right? This was your downdraft. We made a lower high. Then we made a lower low. Now we're making a lower high. So I'd stay away from GoviX. It's massively underperforming the space. Yeah, if you need it to be in your uranium name, that's definitely not the one. Next Gen is also red, actually. Not looking quite as ominous as, not nearly as ominous as GoviX, but also red. And obviously, this could be a harbinger, sort of a preview of what's going to happen to the other uranium charts, right? Like imagine, that's an important concept, right? If we continue to see downside for CCJ, its monthly candle is going to look exactly like this, right? I'll zoom in. That's how this works, right? Like if we continue to see downside, this is going to fill out to red, right? And just going to keep going, right? And so that's actually an important, this is actually an important sort of signal that this may just be further along in the decline that's about to come for this as we enter that daily cycle, as we continue the daily cycle decline. So that's actually a good point. So as I was saying, where this looks a little bit murky, obviously we're getting what looks like a reversal here today, but seeing as how the daily cycle decline is probably underway, this may be just setting up for a lower high. Again, we won't know. We'll have to watch the price action. And that would also be consistent with the idea that the weekly cycle decline is continuing. So this week 13 consolidation turns into a weekly swing high tomorrow, next week. But we'll have to see.